There is a lake in East Africa that looks like the surface of another planet. Its water burns with color. Streaks of blood, red, rust orange, and metallic pink, stretched across a mirror-flat basin at the edge of the Great Rift Valley. From the air, it looks less like water and more like an open wound in the earth. Scientists have a name for what causes this eerie glow: caustic soda, volcanic ash, and salt, cooked for centuries under the equatorial sun. This is Lake Natron in northern Tanzania, and by almost every measure, it should be a graveyard. The water here can reach a pH of over 10.5, nearly as alkaline as ammonia. Temperatures at the surface climb past 60 degrees Celsius, hot enough to scald human skin in minutes. The salt concentration is so extreme that it crystallizes along the shoreline into jagged white shelves, sharp enough to cut through the toughest hide. Animals that wander too close and linger too long do not always leave. Bats, birds, and small mammals have been found here calcified, turned, quite literally, to stone by the mineral-saturated water, preserved in place like statues of the damned, wings still spread, as if caught mid-flight by the lake itself. And yet, each year, in defiance of all of this, more than 2 million birds arrive here on purpose. They come not to die, but to breed, to raise their young in the one place on the entire continent where almost nothing else can survive. This is the story of the lesser flamingo, and the story of how a bird built its entire existence around a lake that kills everything else that touches it. To understand the flamingo, you first have to understand the lake, because the two evolved together, locked in a partnership that took millions of years to perfect. Lake Natron is what scientists call a soda lake, an alkaline basin fed by volcanic springs, cut off from the ocean, with no outlet for its water to escape. Every mineral that flows in from the surrounding hills stays trapped, concentrating year after year, decade after decade, until the lake becomes something closer to liquid stone than liquid water. The result is a chemical cocktail almost unique on Earth, caustic enough to strip the oils from feathers, corrosive enough to blind unprotected eyes, and so mineral dense that a human hand submerged too long would come out blistered. But that same chemistry that repels nearly every other creature does something remarkable. It creates the perfect breeding ground for cyanobacteria, ancient, single-celled organisms older than almost anything else alive, organisms that thrive precisely because the alkalinity keeps their competitors away. These cyanobacteria drench the water in microscopic clouds of blue, green, and crimson pigment, and it is this bloom, along with billions of tiny brine shrimp that graze upon it, that gives the lake its otherworldly hue. And it is these same organisms that the flamingo has learned, uniquely among birds, to harvest. Each lesser flamingo can filter feed for hours a day, sweeping its oddly shaped bill upside down through the water in smooth, deliberate figure-8 motions, its head submerged, its eyes protected, its whole body angled downward in a posture found almost nowhere else in the bird world. Inside that bill lies one of the most specialized feeding structures in the entire animal kingdom, a dense comb of lamellae, tiny keratin ridges that act like a sieve, trapping algae and shrimp no larger than a grain of rice while flushing the caustic water back out with every stroke. A flamingo's tongue works like a piston, pumping water in and out of the bill up to 20 times a second, faster than the human eye can properly track, faster than most predators could ever hope to match. It is an adaptation so refined that a single flamingo can filter more than 20 grams of cyanobacteria in a single day. Multiply that by a population of over 2 million birds, and Lake Natron's flamingos consume an amount of algae so vast that it actually shapes the chemistry of the lake itself. A feedback loop between predator and prey, so tight that neither could now survive without the other. Feeding, though, is only half the battle. Simply standing in this water is an act of extraordinary physiological engineering. A flamingo's legs are covered not in soft skin, but in thick, scaled hide, reinforced tissue that resists the alkaline burn that would blister most other animals within minutes. Their skin secretes a natural barrier of oils, constantly renewed through hours of meticulous preening, that shields their feathers from the caustic spray kicked up with every step. And their eyes are protected by a specialized membrane, a clear secondary eyelid known as the nictitating membrane, that sweeps across the surface like a windshield wiper, washing away salt crystals and shielding the cornea from the causticity of the lake with every blink. Even so, life at Lake Natron pushes even a flamingo to its limits. When a shadow passes over the nursery, heads rise. The creche tightens. Chicks move toward the center, and adults become alert. The survival of one bird is strengthened by the presence of thousands. Yet many of the greatest threats now come from human activity. Water can be diverted away from wetlands for agriculture, cities, or industry. Pollution can change the organisms that flamingos eat. Mining and construction can disturb breeding sites. Roads can bring noise and people into colonies that depend on isolation. Power lines are another danger. Flamingos often fly at night or in poor visibility. Their long necks and wide wings make collisions especially serious. Even a small number of poorly placed lines can kill many birds if they cross an important flight route. Because flamingos gather in huge flocks, they can create an illusion of endless abundance. A lake filled with hundreds of thousands of birds does not appear fragile. But if most of those birds depend on only a few suitable places, a single damaged wetland can matter enormously. Lake Natron is a perfect example. It is the world's most important breeding site for lesser flamingos. These birds may feed and rest at other lakes across East Africa, but successful breeding on a massive scale depends heavily on this one extraordinary place. The same pattern exists elsewhere. In the high Andes, flamingos rely on scattered saline lakes separated by mountains and desert. In the Caribbean, American flamingos move among coastal lagoons, salt pans, and shallow bays. In Europe, Africa, and Asia, greater flamingos use chains of wetlands that may lie in different countries. Conservation therefore requires more than protecting individual birds. It requires protecting water, food, breeding islands, migration routes, and the connections between wetlands. Local communities are often central to this work. People living near flamingo lakes depend on the same water and landscapes for livestock, farming, fishing, tourism, and cultural identity. Long-term protection works best when it also supports the people who share the habitat. Monitoring is equally important. Flamingo numbers can change dramatically from year to year, not only because birds have died, but because they have moved. Scientists count flocks from the ground and from the air. They monitor breeding colonies, water levels, food conditions, and the movement of marked birds. Every observation adds another piece to a complex picture. The story of flamingos is not limited to the famous pink flocks of Africa. In the Andes, birds endure freezing nights, strong ultraviolet light, and thin air. They feed in shallow salt lakes beneath snow-covered volcanoes. Their legs stand in icy water, while the body is exposed to intense sunlight. The Andean flamingo, the Chilean flamingo, and the Puna flamingo may share parts of the same landscape. Yet differences in their bills allow them to feed on different particles. Once again, specialization reduces competition. In the Caribbean, the American flamingo can develop some of the deepest red coloration of any species. Large colonies gather in turquoise lagoons and coastal salt flats. Against blue water and white shorelines, the birds seem almost impossibly bright. Greater flamingos are the most widespread. They may appear in Mediterranean wetlands, African lakes, Middle Eastern lagoons, and salt pans in South Asia. Some travel long distances. Others remain in the same region when conditions allow. No matter where they live, flamingos constantly balance beauty with survival. Their color depends on food. Their breeding depends on water. Their safety depends on isolation. Their chicks depend on the sound of a parent's voice. Their colonies depend on thousands of individuals acting together. Even their strangest behaviors are practical. The upside-down bill is a filter perfectly matched to the lake. The long legs are tools for reaching food and crossing mud. The one-legged pose conserves effort and may preserve warmth. The synchronized dance coordinates breeding. The mud tower protects a single egg. The creche protects a chick by surrounding it with thousands of others. The long-running takeoff allows a heavy-weighting bird to become a powerful flyer. Nothing is accidental. To understand why flamingos are so successful in places that seem nearly lifeless, it helps to look beyond their color and examine the history written into their bodies. At first glance, they resemble other long-legged water birds. Their height and posture suggest herons, storks, or ibises. For many years, naturalists tried to place them among those familiar groups. Modern evidence has revealed a more surprising relationship. Flamingos appear to be closest to grebes, compact diving birds that look almost nothing like them. The connection is a reminder that evolution does not always preserve outward. Its skeleton must solve several mechanical problems at once. The bird needs legs long enough to reach productive water, yet light enough for flight. It needs a neck flexible enough to place the head upside down at the lake bed, yet strong enough to support the bill through hours of feeding. It needs a body compact enough to remain balanced above narrow legs, and wings powerful enough to lift that entire structure into the air. The legs are especially deceptive. The joint halfway down the visible limb is not the knee, it is the ankle. The true knee lies higher, hidden against the body beneath the feathers. Below the ankle is an elongated foot bone that gives the leg much of its apparent length. This arrangement is common among birds, but in flamingos it has been stretched to an extraordinary degree. The legs are not merely stilts, they are active tools. The wide webbing between the toes supports the bird on soft sediment. Without it, the feet would sink deeply into mud with every step. The webbing also helps the bird stir the bottom while feeding and gives extra surface area during swimming. Although flamingos are usually seen wading, they can swim when the water becomes too deep to walk. Their steps are deliberate because the ground is often unreliable. A crust that appears solid may hide soft mud beneath it. A bird places one foot, tests the surface, and then shifts its weight. In a crowded colony, it must also avoid the legs and bodies of neighbors. The result is the high, careful walk that makes flamingos seem permanently graceful, even when they are simply trying not to fall. The skin of the legs is protected by tough scales, an important feature in habitats where salt and alkaline minerals can irritate exposed tissue. Flamingos also possess physiological systems that help them cope with salty food and water. Specialized glands remove excess salt from the bloodstream, allowing the birds to use environments that would quickly dehydrate many other animals. Even so, fresh water remains valuable, and flamingos will drink from springs, rain pools, and river inflows when these are available. The neck provides another lesson in efficient design. It is long enough to reach the bottom while the body remains upright, but its function changes constantly. During rest, it folds into a compact curve, and the head may disappear among the back feathers. During alert behavior, it rises like a watchtower. During courtship, it becomes a visual signal. During flight, it stretches into a straight line to balance the legs trailing behind. The bill is the center of the entire feeding system. Its downward bend becomes useful only when the head is inverted. With the crown pointed toward the lake bed, the bill is positioned like a scoop. The lower and upper parts fit together in a way that creates narrow channels along the edges. These channels are lined with lamellae, fine plates that act as filters. Not all lamellae are the same. Their spacing reflects the size of the food a species captures. Greater flamingos can collect a broader range of relatively large items, including small crustaceans, larvae, mollusks, and seeds. Lesser flamingos possess much finer filters suited to tiny suspended organisms. The bill is therefore not simply a generic sieve. It is a precise instrument shaped around a particular food supply. The tongue works inside this instrument like a piston. As it moves backward, water and food enter the bill. As it moves forward, water is expelled through the lamellae. The edible material remains behind and is swallowed. This pumping can continue rapidly, although from a distance, the bird appears to be making only slow, sweeping movements. A feeding flamingo also changes the environment around its own bill. By stamping or rotating its feet, it lifts organisms from the mud. By sweeping the head, it explores a wider area. By feeding in a group, it may benefit from material disturbed by other birds. What looks like a crowd of individuals is often a moving system in which every step alters the water for the next bird. The lake itself is equally important. Soda lakes form where water enters a basin but has little or no outlet. As the sun evaporates the water, salts and minerals remain behind. Over time, they become concentrated. The chemistry can favor organisms that tolerate conditions too extreme for many competitors. Algae and cyanobacteria may grow in extraordinary abundance, fed by sunlight and nutrients carried into the basin. These microscopic organisms form the base of the food web. They may be eaten directly by lesser flamingos, or indirectly through brine shrimp and other small animals. The flamingos, in turn, move nutrients around the lake through feeding, waste, movement, and breeding. A colony containing hundreds of thousands of birds